Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. Yesterday, we learned that the Kansas City Chiefs were releasing wide receiver Justyn Ross at the request of wide receiver Justyn Ross. And I made a video about that situation yesterday and everything that I thought that it meant for the Kansas City Chiefs. And among those things was the question, who would the Kansas City Chiefs sign to replace Justyn Ross? And I came to the conclusion that I didn't think it would be a wide receiver. And that's true. That was true. And I still think the Kansas City Chiefs would prefer not to sign their 90th man as a wide receiver because they have a lot of depth at the position and they have a whole lot of potential at the position as well. They have some young players at the position that could grow into something more, etc., etc. In addition, they do have some spots that could use an injection of potential, like defensive tackle and edge, maybe offensive guard, depending on how you feel about certain players there. Brett Veach is always looking to sign a cornerback. Brett Veach is always looking to sign a safety, and seemingly Brett Veach is always looking to sign a tight end as well. But who isn't? And I think that in the intervening hours between that time and right now, some other news dropped that might affect the Kansas City Chiefs' decision. Namely, Rashee Rice was sentenced. The rumor is that he will serve a 4-game suspension. I think it is much more likely that suspension will be 6 games. He has actual jail time on the sentence. And that's not a good look. That is not a good look for the NFL. That's not a good look for Rashee Rice. That's not a good look for the Chiefs. Probably the suspension will be bigger than 4 games, in my opinion. I think it's possible that suspension could be 8 games. So with that 90th spot, it's possible that the Kansas City Chiefs decide to sign a wide receiver, and not just any wide receiver. They're going to have a gaping hole at the wide receiver 1 spot for this team for a very hefty chunk of their schedule. And there are some big-time matchups that will decide playoff seedings during the portion of the season Rashee Rice is likely to be suspended. So I put together a list of 5 names of wide receivers who are currently free agents. Some of them would be a bigger splash than others. There is one intriguing name on here, one name that is intriguing if you are into potential, intriguing if you are willing to say the Chiefs are just going to go all out on speed. And there's 2 names kind of like that. And the majority of the names on this list are kind of Rashee Rice stand-ins, starting, of course, with the player you see on your screen right now. That's right, Amari Cooper. So just to get this out of the way up front, I don't know if the Chiefs do want to spend any money on this 90th man, if they are trying to buy themselves a stand-in for Rashee Rice. If they are willing to shell out some money, are willing to maybe move around some money from other players. Look, none of these guys are spring chickens who have a whole lot of upside to them, or they wouldn't be available right now. Amari Cooper is an older player, 31 years old. Is he willing to sign a 1-year, $2 million deal to try to get a ring, something like that? But I do think that what you're looking at here is you're looking at one of 2 things: a guy who's going to add some spark to the field, or a guy who can directly stand in for Rashee Rice. If they're willing to sign a needle mover, right? Amari Cooper is the biggest name out there. I don't know that he would be the best fit with the Kansas City Chiefs. But what you're looking at with Amari Cooper, 6 foot and 7/8 inches, basically 6'1", 211 pounds, 31.5 inch arms, 10-inch hands, had at one time 4.42 speed. Again, you're talking about a guy who is now 31 years old with a 1.61 10-yard split. Not the greatest 10-yard split, but you're looking at a pretty good 40-yard dash there. 33-inch vertical leap, 10-foot broad jump, 21 Wonderlic score. So that tells you how long he has been in the NFL. A 3.98 20-yard short shuttle. It's a good number, and it's a real good number. A 3-cone drill of 6.71. Again, He is a former first-round pick, not just a first-round pick. He was taken 4th overall way back in 2015. He is out of Alabama, has played for the Raiders, has played for the Cowboys, has played for the Browns, and last year with the Buffalo Bills. You see here that his production last year fell off of a cliff, finishing with 547 total yards between the Browns and the Bills. Still, you're looking at a guy who, for both of those teams, scored 2 touchdowns apiece, right? So 4 touchdowns on the season, and he's just one season removed, 2023, from the 1,000-yard mark, 1,250 yards in 2023 for the Cleveland Browns. It is difficult for me to believe that he has fallen off that much in the course of one season, from a 1,200-yard guy to a 500-yard guy, but we're going to see that a couple more times on this list. So does he have in the tank what it takes? Is he willing to play for a discounted rate in order to try to get that Super Bowl ring? Do the Chiefs want an older receiver? This is a guy who could be a Rashee Rice stand-in much better fashion than was Justin Watson last year. So you could, look at this. In 2023, he had a 75-yard reception. So he's not old, worn, beaten down, right? He's older, but I do think that there is football in there. How cheap is he willing to play? For how cheap is he willing to play football? Probably Amari Cooper is holding out for post-training camp when someone looks at their wide receiver core and realizes, hey, we don't have very much, or somebody goes down and he becomes the priority free agent in the NFL. Somebody loses a wide receiver in training camp or the preseason, right? So that's probably where Amari Cooper is with things. That is probably for what Amari Cooper is waiting. But boy, it's fun to think about, isn't it? Number 2 name on this list, Gabe Davis. You're looking at a guy who is 6'2", 216 pounds, a real thick fella. 14 bench press reps, 35-inch vertical, 10'4" broad jump. Nothing particularly impressive so far except for his weight and his broad jump ability. 40-yard dash of 4.54. That is very close to Rashee Rice's 40-yard dash. A 10-yard split of 1.55. I believe that's close to Rashee Rice's 10-yard split time as well, but that is a real good 10-yard split, 1.55. Then you have a bad and a very bad number on the agility numbers. 4.59 short shuttle ranks on the 0.51 scale, and a 7.08 three-cone drill, which is in the scores a 4.35. Now, he's just 26 years old. And, guys, he's built like a fullback. 6'2", 225 pounds. For some reason, that never occurs to me. For some reason, his weight is never that in my mind. For some reason, in my mind, Gabe Davis is 5'11", 193, something like that. I don't know why it is. I don't know why I remember him that way, but for some reason, he is that way for me. He is a former 4th-round pick in 2020. Again, just 26 years old. Played for the Buffalo Bills 2020 to 2023, played for the Jaguars last season, and we will see once again a precipitous drop in production. You look at him through his Buffalo years, 599, basically 600 yards, 7 touchdowns, 550 yards, 6 touchdowns, 836 yards, 7 touchdowns, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns. Then he hits the Jacksonville wall, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very difficult for you to convince me that Gabe Davis went from being an annual 600 to 800 yard receiver, an annual 7 touchdown performer, and all of a sudden became a 250 yard and 2 touchdown guy. Again, only played 10 games, only had 9 starts among them. He is a free agent. What does he want to do? Again, you're probably looking at a guy here who is waiting out training camp, waiting out the preseason, will find his way onto a team once someone realizes, I have no wide receivers and I have a young quarterback. Once someone realizes, I have a quarterback or I have a wide receiver who got injured, will be missing the entire season, will be missing half the season, whatever it is. That is probably where Gabe Davis finds his way onto a roster. Gabe Davis, probably more than Amari Cooper. It is surprising for me that he is a free agent, that he is not signed to someone's team. I do think that Gabe Davis is a guy. I've always been a believer in Gabe Davis. I've always thought that he had a little bit more talent than he was showing off. And I thought that in Buffalo, maybe that was a little bit of just a busy offense, right? So the offense wouldn't be any less busy here in Kansas City this season. You're dealing with a whole lot of wide receivers who are going to be on the field. And if I had my choice, still, I think I would prefer for the Chiefs to take those first 4, 6, 8 games and try to develop Jalen Royals, etc., because that is what they have done in the past, and it has paid dividends once the postseason arrived. Think about how just last year, when Hollywood went down, and then when Rashee Rice went down, it was just the Xavier Worthy show. I mean, Xavier Worthy was soaking up snap count. And by the time he got to the postseason, all of a sudden you had a guy who was able to go off for a little bit. And then you had Rashee Rice in his rookie season really forced onto the field. And you saw that first evolution in Rashee Rice's game the moment the postseason started, where all of a sudden he goes from catching the ball at the line of scrimmage to catching the ball 15 yards downfield. And then the second season he was in the league, the preempted by injury season last year, we saw him go deep a couple times, something that I don't know that we saw that once in his rookie year without checking the stats, but we did see a second evolution of Rashee Rice. But Gabe Davis is the number 2 name on this list, and I'm going to go now to the most experimental name, Anthony Schwartz. Anthony Schwartz is 24 years old. Anthony Schwartz has been in the NFL for 3 seasons. Rookie, a third-round pick in 2021, played 2021 through part of 2023 with the Browns, played 2023 and 2024 with the Dolphins. He is out of Auburn, 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. You have him listed at 186 coming out of college here. 32-inch vertical, 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. None of these numbers are particularly compelling, but then we get over here. 40-yard dash of 4.27. 10-yard split of 1.51. Again, not the greatest agility numbers. The short shuttle number 425 is an okay number. 3-cone drill of 713 is a score of 3.57, so it is a poor number there. But 4.27 speed in the 40-yard dash. You have one of the few players in the NFL that is breaking under the 4.3 barrier. And again, came out of Auburn, third-round pick by the Browns. Here's what he did in the NFL. His rookie season, he had 10 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. A 44-yard long. So out of that, you're looking at, that's a 13.5-yard average. That's a decent average, but you take 44 out of that, you're looking at 90 yards on 9 receptions. That falls all the way down to a 10-yard average. This could be a guy that you bring in and just run people off. Yeah, Xavier Worthy's going to be doing that sometime, but hey, Xavier Worthy's going to want some time off during the season, right? I do think that, so after 2022, he spent time on the practice squad, so I believe he was on the practice squad, at least not getting NFL statistics, right? But I do think there could be something here. You're looking at an extreme speed guy, Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy, then you have Anthony Schwartz in the mix. I think that the speed there is tantalizing. Not a shifty player, not going to cause a whole lot of problems for a defense, but would be interesting to see in a Chiefs uniform, at least for the training camp period, to see what it is that he could do. I've seen his 40-yard dash listed as low as 4.25, so I think he must have done something at a pro day, maybe something less official. And then the fourth name on this list, Tyler Boyd. 6'1.5", basically 6'2", 197 pounds, 32-inch arms, 4.58 40-yard dash, 1.59 10-yard split, a short shuttle of 4.35, three-cone drill of 6.9, 34-inch vertical leap, 9-foot 11-inch broad jump, 11 reps on the bench press. Came out in 2016 as a second-round pick by the Bengals. Played for the Bengals for a very long time, played last season for the Tennessee Titans, and again, you're going to see one of these precipitous drop-offs in production. You look at him in his time with the Bengals, and he really had a heyday, the 2018 through 2021 type seasons. 2018, he had 1,028 yards and 7 touchdowns. 2019, hit 90 receptions, 148 targets, 90 receptions, 1,046 yards, and another strong performance with 5 touchdowns. Fell off a little bit in 2020 with 841 yards, had a 72-yard touchdown. One of his 4 touchdowns on the season. A similar season in 2021, 828 yards, 5 touchdowns. Then you started to see some fall in his performance. 2022 had 762 yards, still 5 touchdowns. 2023 saw him get just 667 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then we see him go to the Titans, and much like with the Jaguars earlier, he fell down to being a 39 reception, 390-yard guy with 0 touchdowns. He appeared in 16 games, but only started 8 of them. Phenomenal rookie in, or no, that's the Jaguars. I don't know what was the Titans offense, probably mostly to blame here. So what is it that Tyler Boyd wants to do? Tyler Boyd, again, looking at these numbers, this is a guy that could stand in for Rashee Rice and those things he is being counted on to do in the offense. A little bit slower in the 40-yard dash, falling into pretty negative territory there with a 4.58 40-yard dash, but 6'2", and 197 pounds, currently listed at 203. This is a guy that could come in. Is he willing to sign for a couple $1 million? Is he willing to sign for something that is not what it is that he is accustomed to? Come in and prove himself with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the final name on this list, DJ Chark. You're looking at a guy who was 28. Here is his RAS score, 9.94 RAS score, but he did not do the agility drills. 6'2" and 7/10 inches, basically 6'3", right? 199 pounds. So you're looking at a guy who looks a lot like a former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver that I will not name because who wants to talk about him? But 16 reps on the bench press. That's a good number for being 6'3", 199 pounds. A 40-inch vertical leap here. A 10-foot 9-inch broad jump. Those are both elite numbers. But then you're looking again at elite speed over here with a 4.34 40-yard dash, a 1.51 10-yard split. So 28 years old, elite speed, former second-round pick, 61st overall, played for the Jaguars 2018 through 2021, spent 2022 with the Lions, spent 2023 with the Panthers, spent 2024 with the Chargers. What has he done in the NFL? Well, you want to talk about precipitous drop in production. We have that yet again. He has to his name a 1,000-yard season in 2019, where he also scored 8 touchdowns. Then the season after 2019, 2020, had 706 yards, including a 73-yard long and 5 touchdowns. Then in 2021, he played just 4 games, where he had 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Still looked promising in here, right? Only playing those 4 games and still finding a way to score 2 touchdowns, have a 41-yard long. Then he had a pair of subpar seasons. 2022 with the Lions, where he had 502 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's respectable, right? But not someone that you're going to bet the farm on, not someone you're going to give a boatload of money. 2023 hit 500 again, 525 yards with 5 touchdowns, but then last year with the Chargers appeared in just 7 games, started none of them, had 4 receptions, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Is that a sign of who DJ Chark has become, or is that something that just kind of happenstance? Bad season, bad situation, bad setting, bad surroundings. Hard to say. Again, it's another one of those things where you think it's hard to convince me that in the course of a season, he went from being a 500-yard wide receiver all the way down to a 31-yard wide receiver. But those things happen. The issue, I think, with many of these names, if the Kansas City Chiefs did want to move the needle with a wide receiver, bringing in a wide receiver to play those games that for which Rashee Rice will be absent, Juju Smith-Schuster already knows the offense. Juju Smith-Schuster just last year had a monster game. He disappeared almost completely after that monster game, but he did have that monster game. And you have to convince yourself on some level that any of these names can come in, learn the offense, and put up a better performance than Juju Smith-Schuster. And is that true? Right? Is that true? Can they do that? So those are the questions here. But anyway, guys, that's what I have for this. 5 potential replacements for Rashee Rice and Justyn Ross here on the Kansas City Chiefs. If you like or appreciate this sort of thing, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.